Top 10 Fascinating Facts About the Late Sean Connery 2020. You will never guess what the number one fact is. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. In the comments below, list one topic you think should be in a top 10 video and comment if you subscribe to this channel. On October 31, 2020, the world awoke to the sad news of Sir Sean Connery's death. Connery was one of the most celebrated actors of his time, but there's far more to his gilded legend than his film career. Whether you know him from his time as 007 or from any of the dozens of movies he headlined, it's a fair bet that you know a bit about the man. Still, there are some fascinating facts about the life of Sir Sean, and these 10 are just the tip of the iceberg. 10. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. Becoming a knight or a dame in the 21st century is significantly different than it was in ages past. Instead of becoming a commander for the king or queen, people are knighted for their contributions to the United Kingdom. In the case of Sir Sean Connery, he was honoured by the Queen for his services to film and drama. Connery was knighted in July 2000 at the age of 69. There was talk of knighting him a couple of years earlier, but his support of the Scottish National Party, which became the official opposition to the Scottish Parliament, likely put his knighthood on the back burner. Connery was a supporter of Scottish independence. Despite his unwillingness to back down from that position, he was knighted by the Queen of England. His knighting ceremony commenced with the actor wearing full Highland dress, consisting of a dark green MacLeod tartan. At the event, an incredibly proud Connery described his knighthood as one of the proudest days of my life. It means a great deal for it to happen in Scotland. Though it took a bit of time for Connery to receive the recognition, he remained a proud commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire for the remainder of his life. 9. He served in the Royal Navy of the United Kingdom at the point when he was just 16 years of age. Connery joined the Royal Navy. He served in the military for a very long time, having been released for clinical reasons identified with a duodenal ulcer. The condition was genetic and influenced the vast majority of the men in prior ages of his family. While serving in the Navy, he prepared in Portsmouth at the Naval Gunnery School to serve in an enemy of airplane team. Later in his maritime profession, he was relegated as a naval seaman on the HMS Formidable, a celebrated class airplane carrier. Connery's maritime vocation saw him partake in a convention normal to all naval forces the world over. He got a few tattoos. While serving, he was inked twice. However, in contrast to numerous tattoos, his were not pointless. His tattoos reflect two of his long-lasting duties, his family and Scotland. One tattoo is a recognition for his folks and Peru's his mum and dad, and the other is clear as crystal, Scotland forever. After leaving the Royal Navy, he invested some energy driving a truck and working different work occupations. He was a casket polisher, and he demonstrated for craftsmen at the Edinburgh College of Art. 8. He was fully retired. Entertainers will in general resign in a type of public articulation, from time to time. In any case, they in the end return to the universe of acting when a fascinating undertaking tags along. A few entertainers have resigned on numerous occasions, yet for Sir Sean Connery, when he bailed, he truly implied it. Connery resigned from acting in 2006 in the wake of dealing with the true-to-life transformation of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The film was a finished and complete disappointment in the cinema world, however that is not why he resigned. Connery was tired of the cycle, and he just marked onto the image to attempt to improve it through editing. Unfortunately, he fizzled in his endeavor, and it baffled him continually. He was vocally unsupportive of Chief Stephen Norrington, in any event, venturing to such an extreme as to state that he ought to be secured for craziness. He recorded some voice-over work in 2013, however that was his solitary work in human expressions since his retirement. He considered returning to repeat his function as Henry Jones in another Indiana Jones film, yet he eventually declined, saying, "In the event that anything might have hauled me out of retirement, it would have been an Indiana Jones film." However, at long last, retirement is simply an excess of fun. 7. He truly was the best James Bond. While it's positively an emotional assessment as to figuring out which entertainer took care of the function of James Bond the best, many surveys keeps on putting Sir Sean Connery at the top. RadioTimes.com gathered information distributed on the day he passed on, and after 14,000 votes were projected, Connery started to lead the pack in a competition-style round-robin. In the first round, Connery came in first above Daniel Craig, who figured out how to score 43% of the vote, contrasted with Connery's 56%. Underneath Craig came Pierce Brosnan, destroying George Lazenby at 76% to 24% in the second round. The third round finished with Roger Moore being completely kicked out of the opposition, having lost to his replacement, Timothy Dalton, who figured out how to pull in 59% of the vote. This left Dalton and Brosnan going toward the first Bond, and he came out on top. By the finish of the competition, Sean Connery was granted 44% of the vote to Dalton's 32% and Brosnan's 23%. Connery played the character multiple times in the film Arrangement, starting with Dr. No in 1962, and finishing his spat 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. He repeated the function in 1983's Never Say Never Again, however that fell external the film Arrangements group. 6. He fell into acting in a roundabout way. While there are plenty of people who study and prepare to become professional actors early in life, Sir Sean Connery was not one of them. He developed an interest at the age of 21 while supplementing his income. He took a job to help out backstage at the King's Theatre in 1951 and found that he developed an interest in the theatre. While helping out during a bodybuilding competition, he learned of open auditions for a production of South Pacific, so he gave it a shot. Connery managed to land the part of one of the Seabees chorus boys, and his career was launched. By the time the production made its way to Edinburgh, he had advanced to play the part of Marine Corporal Hamilton Steeves while simultaneously understudying for two of the leads. The following year, South Pacific was back by popular demand, and Connery was working as the featured role, Lieutenant Buzz Adams. His time in the theatre helped solidify his interest in becoming a professional actor, so he devoted his time to study and practice. 5. He was sexy. Sir Sean Connery may have been a gifted entertainer and a knight of the British Empire, yet he was something else. The man was attractive, and smooth, as damnation. Indeed, that is commonly an emotional explanation, however for Connery's situation, he has the creds to back it up. Connery filled in as a model right off the bat in his life, and his attractive features and appealing air just served to stand out for others. That certainly helped him all through his vocation, which was loaded up with various honors portraying him as one of the most alluring men in the world. In 1989, People magazine granted him the bind for Hottest Man Alive, and after 10 years, he brought home a prize that no one had ever gotten. He was resolved to be the hottest man of the century by New Woman magazine. Sure, it's simply a magazine, and truly, it depends on perusers' votes, yet when you get directly down to it, he's the main individual who could in a real sense guarantee to be the sexiest man of the 20th century in light of the fact that there's a magazine spread to demonstrate it. The vote was resolved from 16,000 votes. However, at long last, Connery beat Brad Pitt, Mel Gibson, and Paul Newman, among numerous others. 4. He became Bond. Thanks to the producer's wife, it's hard to think back and think about another entertainer playing James Bond toward the start of the establishment. However, a great deal of men were up for the part in the mid-60s. Names like Cary Grant, Richard Burton, Rex Harrison, and Lord Lucan were being tossed around. However, it was Maker Cubby Broccoli's significant other, Dana, who pointed her finger at Connery. She portrayed him as a man with the attraction and sexual science to make the part work, and her recommendation went far in landing him the job. Obviously, essayist Ian Fleming must be persuaded, and when he was drawn nearer with Connery's name, he stated, "I'm searching for Commander Bond and not a congested stuntman." It took a touch of persuading, but rather when Fleming at long last observed Connery on screen, he modified Bond's backstory to make him half Scottish, that is the amount Connery looked and put on a show. truly, he made the character his own, figuring out how to mix his quirks and mind into the character who overwhelmed everybody at the container office. Dr. No was a staggering achievement, having made quite recently over $16 million in the cinematic world off a $1 million budget. While $16 million may not appear to be a ton of cash, it adds up to more than $136 million out of 2020. Dr. No's prosperity dispatched an establishment that has since delivered 25 films, and checking. 3. His career was filled with accolades. While Sir Sean Connery is most popular for playing James Bond, it's not really the main job he had for an incredible duration. Connery acted in almost 70 motion pictures, and he showed up in 20 TV arrangement and TV films. He may have resigned in 2003, yet when he was working hard. His various jobs procured him a huge load of grants during his life, including an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, the British Academy Film Award for Best Actor, numerous Golden Globes for Best Supporting Actor, and the Cecil B. DeMille Award. He was granted the Commander of the Order of Arts and Letters from France in 1987. He got the Kennedy Center Honors in 1999 and his knighthood the next year. In 2006, he was respected by the American Film Institute with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Connery worked across endless kinds. He's recalled by individuals for immensely various jobs. Many know him as Bond, however others realize him best as Professor Henry Jones. His work in The Untouchables is also recognized as his experience on screen in Highlander and The Hunt for Red October. 2. He never overcame his accent, and nobody cared despite taking elocution lessons as he was getting into the arts. Sir Sean Connery never managed to adjust his rather thick Scottish accent. While this might have been an impediment to other actors, it wasn't for him, and it's the reason James Bond was retooled as being half Scottish. Throughout his career, he played characters who were about as far from being Scottish as anyone could be, but it didn't matter. In Highlander, he played an Egyptian who spent time in Japan before coming to Scotland, where he sounded more like a Scot than the actual Highlander. In The Hunt for Red October, he played a Russian submarine captain, and he didn't alter his accent one bit. Did anyone care that a Russian man who had never been to Scotland somehow sounded like a Scot? Sure, people mentioned it over the years, but it didn't detract from his performance in any way. It says a lot about an actor's skills that he can perform as any character in any setting while keeping his accent the same, and it doesn't detract from the performance or receive criticism. In the end, it was far better to hear Sean Connery sounding like Sean Connery than to hear him attempt an accent poorly. 1. His passing was peaceful. Though it wasn't common knowledge leading up to his death, Sir Sean Connery was ailing for an undisclosed period of time before his passing at the age of 90. He passed away in his sleep while at his home in the Bahamas. His son, Jason, released a statement, saying, "We are all working at understanding this huge event as it only happened so recently, even though my dad has been unwell for some time. A sad day for all who knew and loved my dad, and a sad loss for all people around the world who enjoyed the wonderful gift he had as an actor." Connery was among his family at the time of his death. He is remembered for his numerous contributions to the arts. When news of his passing broke, countless statements of love and appreciation flooded the internet, many coming from noteworthy celebrities while others came from the fans who appreciated his performances throughout his life. This article was written in honor of Sir Sean Connery, who will be missed by hundreds of millions of people across the world. He gave us James Bond, but he gave so much more, and he will, most certainly, be missed. Requiescat in pace.